Each week, we promise to bring you something positive, daring, and different. This week, we are different because we are at the Grand Dome of Colombo, the London Grill at Cinnamon Grand, which is celebrating 50 years. And starting off those celebrations is the host of the culinary series, Eating In, food consultant and MasterChef judge Philip Davenport, who worked up some magic for a 6-course menu in true celebratory style.
This week is Southeast Asian pairing with French. Next week is Japanese whiskey pairing.
Time to rock up at the London Grill and say hello to Chef Philip Davenport. On the show today, what happens to SME exporters, Indo Pak implications, and 60 years in Rekha. Here's a reminder that Kaleidoscope is on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and like us for more. To our amazing partners on the show, Srilanka Live, CDB, and The Daily Morning, thank you.
She wins with CDB Wings, exclusive financial solutions for women.
This is CDB Snapshot, where we take a look back at the week that was. 33,910 tourists arrived in Sri Lanka during the first week of May. Total arrivals is 930,794 in 2025. In the first 4 months of 2025, Sri Lanka's Excise Department gets a record revenue of over 83 billion rupees. Tea prices dropped to 1,116.75 rupees per kilogram, a 17.01 rupee decrease from March. Sri Lanka's adventure tourism market is projected to hit $2.1 billion by 2035. Indian cricketing legend Virat Kohli announces his retirement from Test cricket. A baby in foster care is given a computer-generated name. Unakete 13 Hotel is her name.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Srilanka Life.
Welcome, this is Srilanka Life News Capsule. Global trade today is marked by volatility, shifting power dynamics, and rising protectionism, challenging traditional export models. Small and medium enterprises, SMEs, play a crucial role in sustaining global supply chains, contributing over 40% to international trade in many economies. In Sri Lanka, SMEs make up for over 75% of all businesses and account for nearly 20% of total exports. As trade routes shift and geopolitical pressures mount, corporate finance and private equity strategist Saminda Veerasinghe discusses how SMEs should navigate stormy waters. Given the current trade scenarios, we've been almost concentrating on the bigger exporters, but there's a huge number and a huge collective of SME exporters. What do they need to be prepared for in this scenario at the moment?
If you look at the trade landscape, world trade landscape currently, you would see few things which are evidently seeing. I mean, we can see very clearly. One, the tariffs that were imposed by the US. I mean, if it really gets implemented, you know, the prediction is that there might be even a recessionary impact that comes into play. Then after that, we see there's a GSP plus issue. The European nations are looking at the PTA and the amendment of the PTA going forward. We see China as a superpower emerging, and it had been the case for the last so many decades. I think if you see the cycles of the empires moving up and down, starting from the 1500 AD, where the Dutch, the UK, then the British, then there was US, and then we see another party coming in, right? So every time we see empires taking over, so to say, you would see uncertainty in terms of trade, in terms of war. You would see India is a reckoning nation, economy, large economy growing, predicted to go 6% for the next 2 years, which is our neighbor, taking over Southeast Asian region. Countries coming up in the Eastern European bloc who are now growing as manufacturing economies. Wars in pockets here and there, the Ukraine issue, the Middle Eastern issue. The exporters predominantly are looking at an external market, right? So they are open to multiple vagaries on the macro side of things.
How would these SME exporters actually strategize in the short, medium, and long term?
If it's a US centric exporter, I think at the moment he is facing some serious uncertainty, right? So I think he needs to first be in the right mindset for him to strategize. So he needs to stabilize first to strategize afterwards. So I think in terms of his cash flows, he needs to be very comfortable. He needs to look at how his export container sales will get curtailed, if at all. He needs to have his chats with his banks, his suppliers, his external funding parties, and see how best that he can either curtail or sort of lean operations, that he can take it forward. And then once things are stabilized for him, then he him to think where he should move into. If he is to go into different markets in the sense of like market development, then where is the funding coming from? Is he to raise capital through bankrolling per se? So is he to move out to investors coming in? So a lot of dynamics to play, but I think first stabilize, then you strategize on your path ahead.
If that's the case, right now, what is the most important priority for an SME exporter?
At this very moment, I think he needs to first find out whether he is comfortable with his cash flows and numbers for the next 24 months. Once that's done, I think then he is stable. Then from there, him to look at his growth plans from that point on. Because there is no point when he is uncertain and unstable in terms of its numbers, his reserves, looking at others, because it's going to create a ball of issues he will find it difficult to come out of, right? So first he gets his system stable. After 6 months, after 12 months, look at even dragging in investors, because technological JVs are very important for us to go out, because we may not have the right technology to penetrate some of these markets. So it's good that we partner JV with investors, retail and people who actually can give us that technology, learn through that, right? So I think, like, to answer your question very simply, right at this very moment, he needs to be comfortable with the next 24 months in terms of where he is.
And let's get an update of the markets this week. The Colombo Stock Exchange remained closed over the long weekend for Vesak. Nothing much to report. Oil prices are still close to one-year lows. Fears of a global economic collapse have eased following US-China talks and subsequent reductions in import tariffs this week. With OPEC Plus keen to flood the market with oil, prices have remained close to $63 per barrel. Gold prices fell slightly and were just above the $3,200 per ounce level as de-escalation in US-China trade tensions weakened safe haven demand. Back from the dead, the Saiga antelope, known for its distinct nose and hunted for its hide, and ancient enough to be depicted in rock art found in the 19,000-year-old rock caves in France, has bounced back from the brink of extinction to 2.8 million Saiga. Since their partition in 1947, India and Pakistan have clashed over territory, ideology and national identity, with Kashmir at the heart of it all. Today, rising nationalism and strategic shifts are adding new layers to this old conflict, making informed analysis more crucial than ever. Today, we are joined by the Director of the Center for Law and Security Studies, Nilantan Nirudan, a leading political analyst known for his deep insight into South Asian geopolitics and conflict resolution. We've been seeing the current escalation of tension between India and Pakistan. Has this been simmering and waiting to erupt, or has it just come up out of the blue?
So it's certainly been simmering for a long time. So as you know, this is a civilizational conflict in many ways as well, with Kashmir just being the modern political incarnation of this. And on top of that, Kashmir has also been a very vibrant hub of tourism for India over the last 2 or 3 years. Last year, there was something like 4.5 million tourists who went to Kashmir. So for the troublemakers on either side who want this conflict to continue, they have a vested interest in ensuring that Kashmir does not see peace. So there was never going to be long-term peace in the way that we would define it. So ordinary Kashmiris still have normalcy in their lives, in a way that they did not have, let's say, 5 years ago or 10 years ago. But these one-off terror attacks will continue to happen, and that kind of stuff will always be simmering under the surface.
So is this sort of more of a broader regional trend, or are we going to see it snapped up and finished?
It's part of a broader regional trend. So right now we are seeing war breaking out between Pakistan and Afghanistan. We are seeing Pakistan having to use a lot of military force against its own Balochistan province. We are seeing Myanmar that's already exploded into civil war, and a lot of bloodshed and infighting and factions and all that there. So the South Asian picture itself shows us that there are many civilizational conflicts brewing from one end of South Asia to the other. So in that sense, I would fit this in as part of that larger equation.
What is the impact this is going to have on smaller nations in this region? We're talking about Nepal and Bangladesh and Maldives, Sri Lanka.
The first major thing is the economic fallout of this, because globally, with Trump's tariffs, with the countermeasures against it, we are heading towards a global recession of some kind. Secondly, this area is also prone to a lot of destabilization because of all of these national civilizational conflicts there, which ensures that the business climate and the investment climate is never as good as it would be in, let's say, Southeast Asia, for instance. And we've also got to remember that in terms of air travel, in terms of shipping lanes, South Asia is a very key pivot. So if war breaks out between India and Pakistan, for example, what happens to the air traffic that flows through that entire region? What if that's brought to a standstill? So the smaller nations here have the most to lose from the regional and international situation crumbling. And in that sense, we will be the first victims.
Would Sri Lanka be forced to take a side?
I hope not. But once again, I don't think India and Pakistan are looking for us to pick sides here. I think they're a lot more worried about where the global powers like Washington and Beijing and Moscow are positioned. I don't think either India or Pakistan are actively looking to pressure Sri Lanka and Nepal and the Maldives and all that into picking a side. If we are pushed into it, we would be forced to take India's side, but I hope we are not pushed into it, because we gain nothing out of burning a bridge with Pakistan.
Is this salvageable diplomatic-wise?
I would personally say not. I believe that this all comes down to a civilizational power struggle. So I don't see modern diplomatic mechanisms that have been set up in the last 50 or 60 years at most being able to solve this. It runs much, much deeper than that. The world right now is also in a state of flux where there are no international organizations, there are no countries with the mediating power to bring this to an end. So I don't see that being an option either.
Surrounding me in the newest gallery space in Colombo, PRSFG at 138 Gold Road, Colombo 3, is the work of 60 years. 60 years of tapestries, animated films, sculptures, etching, line drawings of the brilliant multidisciplinary artist Tilak Samaravikrama. And this is his exhibition, Rekha. This illustrious, internationally renowned artist, who has shown in numerous countries in Europe and the US, has the knack of moving across disciplines with amazing fluidity. And this is evident in the collective of works in this space. In a career that spans nearly 6 decades, from 1970 to 2025, Tilak's works are rooted in heritage, but allows his visualization to flow into the sensibilities of European design movements. He has incepted a new artistic language, bringing traditional techniques into the contemporary by collaborating with artisans, especially the weavers from Ududumbara, to reinterpret geometry, color and space. Enjoy Rekha, a beautiful, expansive and vibrant collection that takes us through the depth and breadth of Tilak Samaravikrama's extraordinary multidisciplinary works. As we hit the halfway point this month, here's a reminder to sit back and relax. We'll be back next week.